This is my last one today, I think it is. So save the best for last. One of my favorite players in the NFL, it's TY Hilton. Right now, his ADP is wide receiver 24, which has actually creeped up a little bit. And like, I get people have this narrative around T.Y. Hilton not being able to stay healthy, but since entering the league, here are his fantasy football finishes. He was the wide. Remember, he's going as wide receiver 24 right now. Here are his fantasy finishes: wide receiver 19, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 22, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 27, and wide receiver 14. And last year he was wide receiver 5 in points per game before he went out with his injury. So the worst season in there was wide receiver 27. That was when Brissett got thrown in because of Andrew Luck's injury and was absolute trash back like 3 years ago, but not even this past season. So that was in a terrible quarterback situation, and he still was a high-end wide receiver 3. So I look at T.Y. this year, and if he's healthy, there's no reason to believe he's not going to be a top 24 wide receiver. So, you look at what he did last season. He was actually really effective before he went out with that injury. And now you get Phillip Rivers, who has thrown for 4,200 or more yards in 10 of his last 11 seasons. And it's like, how is Phillip Rivers going to throw for 4,000 plus yards this year without T.Y. Hilton getting to the 1,000 or 1,200 mark? It's just not going to happen if T.Y. Hilton's not there. So, Rivers is still willing to sling the ball. I know people say what they want about him getting older as well and him not being as good and throwing for all these interceptions. But you look at what happened last season in L.A. One, they had no fans. I guess he was training for this year. So, wow, that was a good warm-up. Did not even plan that one. But they had no fans. No support system. Their O-line was trash. I think their O-line also were fans of another team. And now you come into this Colts team that maybe the weapons aren't quite as good, but you've got a great offensive line. You have a great running game, and he's going to be able to do what he wants and not have to feel like he has to chuck the ball down the field a million times. So, Phillip Rivers can still get it done. I'm not worried about him at all. And the only other competition for targets on this team are Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, and Jack Doyle. And I think, Jack Doyle's like a fine tight end. He's good. I think Campbell and Pittman have a ton of upside, but Campbell basically redshirted last year. I know he played some games, but he was battling injury. And then Pittman's coming in as a rookie from the second-round pick. So it's like, are those guys really going to step up and take over T.Y. Hilton this year? I just don't think so. And it's like, I just don't see how people are fading T.Y. Hilton so far without saying, hey, he's going to get hurt. And honestly, the injury concerns are overblown. He's only missed 10 games in 8 seasons. 6 of those were last year. So outside of last season, he's only missed 4 games in 7 years. So I love T.Y. Hilton. I'm fine to grab him as my wide receiver too if I stack up on running backs early. And I think he's going to return on that ADP if he's healthy.
Yeah, dude, you're so right. And T.Y. Hilton is falling criminally on draft boards. It is tough, though, when you are sitting there on draft day to pull the trigger on him as a pivotal piece of your roster, but the upside is certainly there, man. It really is. And we could see, he could just be what Keenan Allen has been. And you said it last time we were talking about Jonathan Taylor. This is the best offense that Phillip Rivers has found himself on. So there's an extra step that I think he could unlock. And there's 2 things that I think fantasy analysts is kind of like low-hanging fruit that they overvalue it a lot of the time, which is age and new players being drafted in. And if you look at like T.Y. Hilton, he checks both of those boxes. He's 30 years old, and they just brought in Michael Pittman. But T.Y. Hilton's still a great player. And I want to take a second real quickly. Like Paris Campbell is kind of creeping into that, final pick of my draft. I'm just going to throw a dart throw and see what happens. Campbell's slowly creeping up there for me. He saw decent volume in a few of the games that he did play. He had a couple games with 5 receptions. And, he was a second-round pick, same as Michael Pittman. And, he's super fast. He ran a 4.31 40. He had a 4.03 short shuttle, so super quick and agile as well. If Paris Campbell returns to form, I could see him being electric in this offense. And you're paying, he's free essentially in your drafts, especially in like best ball and DFS. Keep your eyes on Paris Campbell, and I do like him as a dart throw in redraft. But no, I totally see what you're saying on Hilton. I want to do a deep dive into kind of his injury history and what the severity of that injury was that he had. Was it an ankle? Can you refresh my memory here?
Yeah, I believe he's had a lot of stuff. He's actually had a ton of stuff in his career where he's actually been a little banged up and he's played through it and actually still been able to be pretty efficient. Let me check in really quickly on his injury from last season, just to confirm
So it looks like a
all of
calf
our
tear.
facts here.
He missed 5 games from
Yeah, that's right. It was the calf. He's had an ankle in the past, though. Last year was the calf.
Gotcha. I mean, look, it's scary, but it's not ACL scary, which is I feel like the level that people are fading T.Y. Hilton.
You look at this offense, and like I know they do want to run the ball. I believe that to be true, but Frank Reich is willing to chuck it. Like Andrew Luck's last season in Indy in 2018, that was Reich's first season as the Colts head coach. Andrew Luck threw the ball like 630 plus times that year. So, Phillip Rivers coming into this team, he's willing to throw the ball down the field, and I have no doubt that he's going to get plenty of pass attempts in this offense. I don't think it's going to be 600, but like Rivers can throw for a ton of yards. Rivers' passing yards rank in his past 5 seasons, as far as like his rank amongst all NFL quarterbacks goes, is 4th, 9th, 2nd, 6th, and 2nd. So, he's been at the top of the league in passing yards for all of the last 5 seasons. T.Y. Hilton led the league in receiving yards just a couple years ago. So, look, I'm totally in on Hilton. I think he could get 120, 130 targets, and he's not someone that's he's probably not. His upside is there, but he's probably not someone that's going to win you a league. But I think he's still going to be on plenty of championship rosters.
And another thing too, as I was kind of looking up here more on the Hilton injury, apparently he was good to go at the end of last season. They just wanted to conserve him for next year. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Maybe some of the injury fades are going a little bit too far. The pendulum swinging too far the other way on T.Y. Hilton.